What if I told you that getting revenge is the weakest response to heartbreak, and the one that keeps you chained to the very person who hurt you? When someone breaks your heart, the instinct to strike back, to prove a point, to show them what they lost, it's almost irresistible. But let me ask you this: when has chasing revenge ever built a stronger man? What if this pain wasn't something to fight back with, but something to rise from? What if this very moment is your invitation to stop reacting and start rebuilding? The highest form of strength isn't retaliation, it's elevation. You're standing at a pivotal crossroads. Stay stuck in bitterness, or use this betrayal as fuel to become someone truly unshakable. Not to impress them, but to free yourself. Now, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment below. I control my emotions, not my pain. Let's dive in. Number 1. Cut the chains. Revenge is not liberation, it's a prison. Right now, you may be holding on to a fire inside, a fierce, gnawing urge to get back at the person who hurt you. Whether it was a betrayal from someone you loved, a friend who turned on you, or family who let you down, your instinct is screaming for revenge. You want justice, payback, or just the satisfaction of seeing them suffer the way they made you suffer. But that fire? It's not power, it's poison. And Stoicism shows us why. According to Marcus Aurelius, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. The moment you allow your mind to be consumed by revenge, you've already given the person who hurt you exactly what they wanted: your control, your peace, and your time. The truth is that revenge feels good in theory. It tricks you into thinking you're reclaiming power, but all it does is tie you tighter to the wound. You don't move on. You rehearse the pain. You don't heal. You relive the betrayal. Every plan to show them keeps them alive in your thoughts, and the longer they live there, the less room you have for growth, peace, or forward motion. Revenge may give you a fleeting high, but the crash that follows will leave you more broken than before. Stoic philosophy isn't about pretending you weren't hurt. It's about using that hurt as a stepping stone, not a chain. When you choose not to retaliate, you're not saying what they did was okay. You're saying, you don't get to own any more of my life. That's not a weakness. That's a real strength, the kind that scares people. Because most expect anger, tears, and drama. When they see none of it, they realize they've lost access to your world. And that loss is louder than any words you could scream. So what do you do with that energy? Redirect it. Instead of wasting time plotting how to make them feel what you felt, invest that time in building a life so complete, so powerful, that their memory fades in comparison. Start with your health. Train harder, eat better, breathe deeper, reconnect with your purpose, dive into your craft. Create something that will outlast the pain. Every minute spent improving yourself is a minute they don't get to own. That's how you regain your power, not through retaliation, but transformation. The psychological impact of this approach is profound. The person who hurt you may expect chaos, fallout, and retaliation, but what they get is silence, growth, and elevation that unsettles them more than any fight ever could. Why? Because when you're no longer reacting, you're no longer theirs to control. You become a mirror, and in that mirror they see everything they lost and will never touch again. You don't need revenge, you need freedom. And freedom comes the moment you stop needing to win and start focusing on building something they can never destroy: your peace, your purpose, and your future. Now speak out and comment below. I control my mind, no one else does. Number 2, indifference is power. Be the one they can't touch. Right now they expect you to react. Maybe they betrayed you, ghosted you, talked behind your back, or left you at your lowest. And deep down, they're waiting for your anger, your sadness, your breakdown. Because if you respond, they still matter. They still hold space in your emotional world. That's why Stoicism doesn't just tell you to be calm. It teaches you to be indifferent. Not because you don't feel, but because you refuse to let their actions dictate your energy. Indifference, in its purest form, is strength. It's not that you weren't hurt, it's that you healed in silence. It's not that you don't care, it's that you care more about your peace than their chaos. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." And there's nothing more powerful than not reacting at all, because silence leaves space, and in that space, they are forced to face themselves, without your validation, your response, or your emotional fuel to feed off of. The world will tell you to clap back, to show them you're not to be messed with, to post something cryptic, to make them jealous, to match their energy. But here's the truth. You've already lost the moment you try to prove something. You've let them shape your behavior. The Stoic response? Do nothing. Say nothing. But build everything. Let your life speak in ways your words never could. Start by reclaiming your energy, the urge to respond, message, vent. Catch it, pause, redirect. Take that tension and channel it into your body. Train harder, into your mind. Read deeper, into your work. Focus sharper. Use the storm they created to fuel the structure you're building. When you become unshakable in the face of disrespect, you no longer seek revenge. You become the standard. Psychologically, indifference is unnerving. It's disorienting. They expected emotion. They expected you to need closure, validation, or apology. When they get none of it, they spiral. Not you. They start to question, why isn't he reacting? Did I never matter? Has he already moved on? And they replay everything, not because you forced them to, but because your silence left them alone with themselves. That's the power of indifference. You're not trying to make them suffer. You're just showing them through action, not performance, that their influence has expired. And the most beautiful part? You don't have to fake it. As you grow, heal, and elevate, their relevance naturally fades. You stop watching their stories. You stop analyzing old texts. You stop remembering the version of you who used to care. Because you're not that man anymore. You've evolved. And evolution doesn't explain itself. So don't seek closure. Don't chase explanation. Don't wish they'd apologize. None of that matters. Your peace is not for sale, and your energy is not theirs to manipulate. Let them sit in the silence they created. Let them wonder who you've become. Because indifference isn't a mask, it's a message. You no longer have access to me. Now, comment below, I control my mind, no one else does. Number 3. Pain into power. Transform the hurt into unshakable strength. Right now, the pain might feel overwhelming. It might hit you in waves. Some days like a sharp sting, other days like a quiet, constant ache. It's tempting to run from it, numb it with distractions, or deny it exists at all. But here's the truth. That pain is not your enemy, it's your fuel. In the eyes of Stoicism, pain is not something to escape, but something to use. Marcus Aurelius said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This is your moment to embody that idea. This is where your pain becomes the path forward. When you're heartbroken or betrayed, the first instinct is usually one of 3 things: lash out, sink into self-pity, or try to win them back. All of them are traps. All of them keep you anchored to the past. But the Stoic warrior asks a better question. What can I do with this? Not, why did this happen to me, but what am I becoming because of this? When approached with purpose, pain becomes a forge, and you, the weapon it sharpens. This doesn't mean ignoring your feelings, it means owning them. Let yourself feel it fully, but don't drown in it. Sit with the discomfort. Let it teach you where your attachments were. Let it reveal the stories you were telling yourself about your worth, your identity, and your future. Then, slowly, begin to rewrite that story, page by page, action by action. Start with structure. When the emotions come, anchor them in movement. Go to the gym. Train until your body catches up with your mind's discipline. Take up a new skill, something you've put off, something that demands focus. Write. meditate, read, turn your pain into momentum. The Stoics knew that suffering without purpose is agony, but suffering that builds you becomes strength. And make no mistake, people will notice. The same ones who hurt you, the ones who doubted you, the ones who walked away, they will see your evolution, and it will eat at them, not because you tried to make them jealous, but because you didn't collapse, because you rose, because the pain they expected to break you became the catalyst that turned you into something untouchable. This shift rewires your identity. You go from victim to builder, from lost to focused, from reactive to masterful. Your life begins to take shape, not in spite of the pain, but because of it. And every new level you reach becomes a quiet act of defiance, not to prove them wrong, but to prove to yourself that you were never as broken as you thought. So stop running, stop resenting, stop wishing the pain never happened, because if it brought you here, to a path of discipline, growth, and clarity, it wasn't in vain. It was necessary. It was the beginning. This is your fire. Use it. Now, speak out and comment below. I control my mind, no one else does. Number 4. The silent blade. Use quiet to command power. Right now, your world might feel loud, internally and externally. There's noise in your mind, unanswered questions, and emotions screaming for resolution. And on the outside, there's even more noise, social media posts, rumors, mutual friends talking, and maybe even the person who hurt you putting on a show of indifference. The modern world pushes you to respond, to speak, to fight for your side of the story. But the Stoic path offers a different, more powerful option. In a culture addicted to reaction, silence is a weapon. It's not passive, it's strategic. It cuts deeper than words ever could. When you go quiet, not out of weakness, but out of control, you create a vacuum. And vacuums demand attention. Your silence becomes louder than any argument, more unsettling than any insult. Why? Because silence removes their ability to predict you. And when people can't predict you, they can't control you. Epictetus once said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." But in a world driven by attention-seeking, this principle is often lost. Silence isn't about being submissive or hiding. It's about conserving your energy, guarding your inner peace, and keeping your strategy private. The more unpredictable you become, the more powerful your presence becomes, even in absence. This doesn't mean bottling things up or suppressing your emotions. It means mastering your urge to react. When you're silent, you're not ignoring the pain. You're redirecting it inward into discipline and growth. You let them talk, you let them post, you let them assume, and all the while, you're evolving, quietly, deliberately, with force. You're hitting the gym harder, you're working up earlier, you're working on your goals, and no one needs to see it, not yet. Psychologically, this destroys their sense of control. People expect chaos when they hurt someone. They expect drama, emotional breakdowns, and desperate responses. When they get none of that, they're left with themselves and their own doubt. Did he not care? Is he plotting something? Has he moved on? That confusion, that uncertainty becomes their burden, not yours. Your silence becomes a mirror. It reflects their actions at them, stripped of excuses and justifications. It forces them to think, to question, to squirm. But here's the truth. That's not your goal. You're not doing this to manipulate them. You're doing it to free yourself. You've outgrown the need for validation, confrontation, or closure. Your silence says everything. I am no longer within your reach. Let your silence be sacred. Use it to create space for growth. Use it to remove emotional toxins. Use it to become someone so grounded that no noise can shake you. Because when you master the art of silence, you no longer need to raise your voice. Your results will speak for you. Now, comment below. I control my mind, no one else does. Number 5. Build the life. The only comeback is becoming untouchable. Right now, There's a temptation inside you, a need to be seen, acknowledged, and proven that you're doing better without them. Maybe you imagine bumping into them one day, and they see how much you've changed. Maybe you fantasize about them scrolling through your life updates, regretting everything. But if your growth is still rooted in their attention, you haven't really grown. Stoicism teaches that the highest revenge is not revenge at all. It's to become someone so whole, so elevated, that their betrayal becomes irrelevant. This is the moment you stop focusing on them and start investing in them, not because you want them to regret losing you, but because you refuse to remain defined by the past. You don't need to flex, you don't need to post, you don't need to force a glow-up to get under their skin. You need to rebuild, quietly, relentlessly, and completely. That's what makes it real. That's what makes it permanent. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. You don't need to stoop to their level to prove your worth through ego games. You prove it by becoming a man who thrives regardless, and that begins with the smallest disciplines. Wake up earlier, set structure to your day, train until your body becomes a reflection of your will, study until your knowledge surpasses your doubts, network until you're surrounded by people who see your value without needing an explanation." This isn't about replacing them, it's about replacing the version of you who tolerated their mistreatment, the weak version, the reactive version, the version who thought love meant attachment. Now you understand that love, real love, begins with self-respect. And when you begin to live from that standard, everything changes. You attract better, you expect more, you settle for less noise and more depth. Over time, they will notice, maybe through a mutual friend, a photo, or a silence that speaks volumes. And when they do, it won't be the body transformation or the career glow-up that shocks them. It'll be your energy, your peace, your detachment. The fact that you no longer need them to feel complete. That's the kind of presence you can't fake. And it's built in silence, one day at a time. Psychologically, this is what breaks their sense of comfort. You're no longer available, not emotionally, not mentally, not spiritually, and the story they told themselves that you'd always be an option crumbles. But by then, you're too far gone. You're living in a world they can no longer enter. You didn't just move on, you moved up. So no more proving, no more performing, no more pretending. Just rebuild, brick by brick, until your life is so fulfilling you forget you ever needed validation. Now, speak out and comment below. I control my mind, no one else does. Number 6. Rewrite the story, from victim to author of your own life. It may feel like everything that happened to you is out of your control. You didn't choose the betrayal, the breakup, the disappointment. You didn't ask to be abandoned, ignored, or replaced. And yet, here you are, left with the aftermath. It's easy to stay in that mindset, to replay the events, to rehearse the unfairness, to remain trapped in the question, why did this happen to me? But if you stay there, you hand over your identity to your pain. Stoicism gives you another option. What will I do with this now? That's the question that turns the page. You are not what happened to you, you are what you choose to become in response to it. Epictetus taught that while you may not control the external events in your life, you always control your reaction to them. The victim waits for an apology, a closure, a reversal. But the author? He writes, he builds, he moves forward, and he doesn't need anyone's permission to begin again. This shift in mindset is subtle, but it's everything. It's the moment you stop blaming and start building, when you stop asking for justice and start creating strength, when you stop needing the past to change and start transforming your future day by day. No one can rescue you from this pain, and no one should, because the rescue is in the process of reclaiming your power. You don't need closure, you need clarity, and that clarity begins with action. Start small. Decide what kind of man you want to be on the other side of this. Stronger, smarter, more disciplined, more peaceful. Then reverse engineer that identity. What time does he wake up? What does he eat? How does he train? What does he tolerate? Who does he surround himself with? How does he speak to himself? Now live that. Today, not next week, not when you're ready. The pen is already in your hand. Start writing. And what about them? The ones who broke you, the ones who disappointed you. They no longer matter, not because their actions didn't hurt, but because your story has evolved past their chapter. You're not erasing what they did, you're just no longer defining yourself by it. Forgiveness isn't about saying it is okay, it's about saying I won't carry this anymore. Because carrying it keeps you chained to a moment you can't change. Psychologically, this mindset shift is liberating. When you stop seeing yourself as the victim and start seeing yourself as the architect of your comeback, everything changes. You stop chasing closure, you stop hoping for a redo, you realize that everything they did gave you the material to build something greater. You didn't choose the pain, but you choose what it makes of you. And when you choose to rise, no one can take that away from you. You're not broken, you're becoming. And every great story has a chapter like this, the one where everything falls apart, only to come back stronger. This is yours. Now, speak out and comment below. I control my mind, no one else does. Number 7, the final shift. Let go to rise above. By now, you've walked through fire, you've felt the sting of betrayal, the weight of silence, the hollow echoes of unanswered questions. You've stood at the edge of rage, at the brink of despair, and yet you're still here, standing, stronger, clearer. But there's one final step, and it's the one most people resist: letting go completely. Not just letting go of the person who hurt you, but letting go of the story, of the identity built around the pain. Because if you don't, you'll carry the weight forever, and that weight will dull your edge. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting what happened. It doesn't mean pretending it didn't hurt. It means no longer needing it to make sense in order to move forward. It means you stop looking back, stop wondering what could have been different, stop hoping they see your worth. You've already proven your worth to yourself. That's the only audience that matters now. Holding on to the pain only keeps you trapped in a moment you have already survived. Stoicism calls for internal mastery, and mastery requires not allowing your mind to be hijacked by ghosts. The people who hurt you may never apologize, they may never feel remorse, they may live their lives as if you were just another chapter. And that's okay, because your peace doesn't require their participation. As Epictetus said, it's not events that disturb us, but our judgment about them. The story you tell yourself about the pain, that it ruined you, that it defined you, is the only thing keeping you from absolute freedom. Change the story, and you change everything. Letting go is an act of self-respect. It's when you look in the mirror and say, I refuse to give one more minute of my life to something that doesn't serve me. You don't need revenge. You don't need closure. You don't even need understanding. You just need direction and the courage to move toward it without dragging your past behind you. From here forward, your life is about forward motion. Build the business, craft the body, deepen the mind, strengthen the spirit. Laugh again, love again, lead. Show others what it looks like to rise without resentment, because when you rise with peace, you become a storm they cannot stand against, not because you destroyed them, but because you no longer need to. That's the Stoic path. That's your path. And it ends not in revenge, not in regret, but in rebirth. Now, comment below, I control my mind, no one else does. You came here looking for a way to fight back, but now you understand. You don't get even with someone who broke you. You get above it. They didn't steal your strength. They gave you the chance to find it. If you're ready to let go of vengeance and lean into evolution, like this video, subscribe and comment below. I am unstoppable. Stay sharp, keep rising. The most powerful version of you doesn't look back, he builds forward.